What's going on, guys? John Elder here from Codemy.com, and in this video, we're going to start to build a calculator with PyQT Designer and Python. Alright guys, like I said, in this video, we're going to start to build this calculator with PyQT Designer. But before we get started, if you like this video and want to see more like it, be sure to smash the like button below, subscribe to the channel, give me a thumbs up for the YouTube algorithm, and check out Codemy.com, where I have dozens of courses with hundreds of videos that teach you to code. Use coupon code YouTube1 to get $30 off membership. It's all my courses, videos, and books. One-time fee at just $49, which is insanely cheap. Okay, like I said, in this video, we're going to start to build this calculator with PyQT Designer. And you can see right now it doesn't do much. We can click some buttons and we can clear the screen, and that's about all we'll probably get through in this video. But we're going to do this completely with the PyQT Designer. Now, in the last video, I showed you how to install the PyQT Designer for Mac. The video before that, we installed it for Windows, so you should be ready to go with this. So I'm going to go ahead and close all of this stuff. And let's head over to our terminal here. This is the Git Bash terminal that we always use. And I'm in my C PyQT5 directory. I've got my virtual environment turned on. And you can pip freeze to make sure you've got PyQT and PyQT Designer. Now, to run the Designer, remember for Windows, we just go to Designer. And if you don't know how to do that with the Mac, check the last video in the playlist. The link for that is in the pinned comment section below, as well as the code for this and all the videos. So check that out. So, okay, we get this screen. This is our PyQT Designer, and we want a main window. So let's create. And we're going to want to resize this a bit. Oh. Something like that. Okay, so let's come up here and save this right away. So let's go File, Save As, and we want to navigate into that PyQT directory. So C PyQT5, and then I'm just going to name this calc. So this is going to be calc.ui. So let's go ahead and save this. Okay, so we can come through here and start playing around with this. The object name is Windows, but if we look through here, let's see, our title, let's call this calculator. And you can see up here, that's changed, right? So, okay. And I'm going to change this geometry a little bit. I've already been playing with this a little bit. So I want this to be 361 by like 588 or so, something like that. So, okay, I've actually got this running somewhere else. So let me just pull this over. So the first thing we want is this label boxy thing up here so that we could put our numbers as we click the buttons. They can appear up here. So, okay. Let's do that. Let's look through here, and I'm going to come down here and just grab a label, drag it up here and put it in, and we can roughly change the size of this thing. Now the geometry, we can come over here. I already know I want this to be 10 by 10 by, I think it's 341 by 91. So that changes it a little bit. I just got that from playing around with it earlier. You can have this any way you want. And you'll notice the text label is over here. I want to put this on the right-hand side. So we can sort of look through here and just find what looks like we'll move that. So we can come through here, come down to the text itself. Right off the bat, let's change the name of this to output label so we can keep track of it later on. And here we have the alignment. So we can click here. And the horizontal, that's left to right, says align left. I want to change this to align right. So you can see now it's over here. All right, that looks good. What else do we want? Margin. So I'm going to put a margin on this of like 10. And you can see as I click this, the text moves over, right? So I want it 10, so it's not sitting right up against that wall. So, okay, that looks good. What else can we do? Well, we want to change the size of the text, right? So we can come up here to font and click on this. And what do we want? Like 36 maybe? Something like that. That looks good. Okay, so what do we want to be there by default? Right now it says output label. We changed that earlier. The text here. No, we don't want the text to be output label. That was wrong. We did that earlier. We want the text just to be 0. We want the name of it up here to be output label. So I'll change that around. Okay, so now I want a box around here. How do I get that? Well, let's look through here. We have palette, we have font, and here we have Q frame. So we could click on here and let's change this to box. And now we get a little box. So that's cool. We can have a shadow if we want. So raised maybe, or sunken maybe, whichever looks better to you. And the line width on here, we can make this a little bigger to make it more dramatic. So that's sunken. This is raised. I think, is that what I have? Yeah, I've got it set to raised there. So, okay, that's looking pretty good. And I think that's good enough for now. We can leave that. So now we need 1, 2, 3, 4 buttons. So we could do that by coming over here and let's grab a button. And I'm just gonna pull it over here. And you can sort of resize it however you want. I happen to know that I want mine to be 75 by 75, so I can change this 75 by 75. And I want mine to be sitting at 10 and 110. So there we go there. So now let's change the font on this guy. So I want this font to be like, I don't know, 26 or so. All right, and I want the text on there. For now, we'll just put it as X. Okay, so let's copy this. I can just click on it and hit Control-C on my keyboard, Command-C if you're on a Mac, or right-click and copy. And then let's Control-V to paste in another one, or you can right-click and paste. And let's grab this and kind of pull it over. We want another one and then another one. Now I know I want this one to be at, let's see, move this around. I want it to be at 275 by 110. Okay. And the rest of these we can sort of position around. I'm going to put it right next to here. And then just kind of move it over a couple. I'm going to do the same thing here. Now, obviously, if this was like a professional thing, you would spend a little more time mapping these out exactly where you want them. Mostly, I just want to see that they're all lined up at 110 on the Y so that they're all straight. Okay, so that's good enough. We could play around with the position of these as much as you want, but now I'm going to push down the Control button on my keyboard and click on each of these, and then Control-C to copy or right-click and copy, and then Control-V or right-click and paste. Let's paste some more of these in here. So there, 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 and there. And again, I'm just gonna highlight all of these and then move them right up against there. And then I'm just gonna go down 2. And one more time. I don't know, close enough. And we can sort of eyeball these. 10, 10, 10. I'm looking right here on the X, 10 and 10. Okay, so they seem to be lined up good enough. And again, you can come through here and play with these and get them positioned exactly how you want them, but I don't really care. That's good enough for me for this video. So, okay, now we pull up our regular calculator here. We need to change each of these to the thing we want. So we got percentage sign, C, arrows, and it's like a division. So we just come through here, click on each one, come down, click on the thing. This is going to be a percentage sign, and just kind of come through here and do all of these things like that. And then this is going to be 7, 8, 9, and then an X. Hey, look at that. And then we have 4, 5, 6. And minus, bear with me here, 1, 2. Designer makes this a lot easier, but it's still kind of tedious just to go through here and finagle all of these things. So this one is going to be, let's see, plus/minus. And this one is going to be 0. This one's going to be a period. And this one's going to be an equal to sign. Okay, so not too bad. There we go. Now, the last thing we really want to do is name each of these buttons because we're going to have to keep track of these in the code. And so as you can see now, if we scroll up to the top, this one's called push button. This next one is called push button 2, push button 3, push button 4. That's just no good, right? We're never going to be able to remember what those buttons are. So we really need to rename this. So I'm going to rename this % button. We'll rename this one C button. And let me just copy button here so that we can paste this every time. And we'll call this one arrow button. And this one will be divide button. Now here we get into the numbers. And if you try to do like 7, I'm pressing the number 7, it won't let me because we need to name these actual names like words. So 7 button. And we can come through an 8 button. Bear with me, 9 button. This one, we could call it X button, but I want to call it multiply button. And you'll see why in a second. So this one is 4 button. And 5 button. Very exciting, very glamorous work we're doing here today. 6 button. Now here, we couldn't really put the minus sign, so we need to type out minus. That's why I put multiply instead of the X earlier. So let's go 1 button, almost done, getting there. 2 button, 3 button. Here, I'm gonna call this one add button. All right, for this one, let's just call it plus minus button. This one will be 0 button. We're gonna call this one decimal button. And this one will be equal button. Okay, so we've got our GUI roughed out. Now we need to convert it into Python and then make these buttons do things. So to do that, we just come up here and let's go File, Save. We want to save this. We've already named it calculator.ui, but we want to save it. Now, if we head back over to our terminal here and we type in ls, we should see this calc UI file. Okay, so now we need to convert this calc UI file into a Python file that we can now fiddle with. So to do that, the command is pyuic5-x, and then let's name it. It's calc.ui. That's the name of this file here, right? And then what do we want to do? We want to -o. Now that's the letter O, not the number O. We want to output that as, let's call it calc.py. So that will convert it. Now when we type in ls, we should see this. Let's see, there it is, calc.py file. And we can open it. So let's go to File, Open. And in our PyQt directory, find that calc.py file. There it is. And here it is. So we can get rid of all these things if we want. And just sort of look through here, and you could see all of the things that the designer designed for us, right? So, okay, now let's create a function down here for when the buttons are pressed, right? So I'm going to define, and I'm going to call it press it. We've done this sort of thing before. We want to pass in self. We also want to pass in pressed, right? And then inside of here, we'll do something in a bit. Well, we already know what we want to do. Whenever we press a button, we want that label to change, right? So right off the bat, we can just type in self.output label, because remember, that's what we called it. We come back here and check the label and we click on it. Remember, we named it output label, right? So that's why we did that, so we can reference it right here. And then we want to go .set text. And what do we want to set it as? Let's set it as, for now, pressed. Right? So now we need to make this function callable from every one of the buttons in our designer that we created. So come up here to the top and let's see, look through here, QWidgets, main window, QWidgets label. We're looking for QWidgets with buttons. And here's our first one, QWidget push button. So we can come to the end of this and then just type in clicked equals, and we want to pass in a lambda. Now this is a lowercase l, remember. I know it looks like an uppercase L, but Sublime just does that. This is an actual lowercase l. So this is an uppercase L, right? It's a different color, it's angular. This little sort of curvy, swoopy thing, lowercase l. And what do we want to do? Well, we want to call self.pressIt, that function we just created. And we want to pass in something. What do we want to pass in? Well, for now, let me just copy all of this. And let's come back here, and this is the % button. So here we want to pass in %. All right, so let's save this and run it just to make sure that that sort of worked, right? So to run this guy, we head over to our terminal, and let's run Python calc.py. When we click this, we get an error. Oh, self D is not defined on line 155. I misspelled self. It is so like me. So that's way down here. Line 155. Yep, right there. Boom, self. What didn't you tell me? So let's save this, run it again. Okay, so now when we click this, boom, the % sign pops up, which is definitely not what we want to do, but for now, we'll let it go. Now the rest of these buttons don't do anything yet, so let's come through there and fix that. Head back over to our code, and now let's come up here to the top again and sort of scroll down until we see, well, actually, let's go over. There it is, self lambda. So what we want to do is copy all of this and paste it in for each button. So we can find each button by reading the code, or we can just type this in. So I'm going to hit Control F to bring up, you can see a search function here. And I just typed in qtwidgets.qpushButton, which is this right here. And then I'm just going to click Find. And it's going to go to the next one. So we can come over and see this is the C button. So we'll come to the end of this and, oops, and just paste it in. But instead of %, we want C, or maybe uppercase C, whatever. And we come down here and click Find again, and it goes to the next one. So this is the arrow one, we can see. So we can paste this in, and those are arrows. We go to the next, boom. Click on here, go back over, divide. So this is divide. And this is, again, just tedious, but you just sort of have to do it. So it shouldn't take but a minute. So this one's multiply. So we can put in a little star or an X or whatever you want to do there. So we click Find, and we just come through here and do all this for each one. So here's the 9 button. So here we want to pass in 9. And you notice I'm passing in quotation marks and not just a number. So this is actually a string. It's not a number. Because later on in the press it function, when we put it back up on the label, we would have to convert it to a string anyway. So instead of doing that, I'm just passing it as a string so that we don't have to convert it from an integer to a string later on. So, okay, so again, click here, and I'm hitting the home button to go over to see, oh, it's the 7 button. And then I come back over here and type in 7, 8, and maybe I'll pause it here and do all these so you don't have to watch me. So this is the minus button. Okay, so yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and pause it right now. We'll pick this back up at the end here. Okay, we're coming to the end here. 0. We've got, it looks like, oh, that looks like it's it. So, okay, that looks like we've got them all. So let's save this and run this guy again just to make sure everything's looking good here. So let's test these. We got this, X, 9, 8, 7, 4, 5, 6, minus, plus, 3, 2, 1, plus, minus, 0, dot, and equal. Okay, so now obviously this is not what we want. When we click on these, we don't want what was in there already to disappear. We want it to add on. So if we wanted to type in 51, we would click 5.1, and it should say 51 up here. So we can fix that real quick. So let's come down here to our function, our press it function. And first, let's say when we click the C button, we want to delete everything. Let's do that. So let's go if pressed equals C. Then this should be what? Well, we should put this back to 0, right? So then let's go else, do this. Okay, so let's go ahead and save this and run it, see if that worked. So we can click 8 and then C goes back to 0, 6C. Okay, so that works, the clear thing works. So how do we make this not overwrite the number that was clicked earlier? So to do that, what we really want to do is sort of, instead of just outputting pressed, we want to, let's make an F string and put that like that, right? So inside of here, we want to put what was there previously. Well, what was there previously? Well, whatever was there is self.outputLabel. So we can do self.outputLabel.text, and this is a function. So this will put whatever was there earlier and then sort of concatenate whatever was pressed on there. So that should do the trick there. Let's go ahead and save this and run it. It's not quite finished, but one step closer. So now we could type in 6, 5, 8, 7. We still have this 0 there. We don't probably want that. So let's, but the screen still works. So let's fix that. Let's get rid of that 0. So head back over here, and inside of our else loop, let's run another if statement. So let's go if, and now we can just grab this. So this is what's currently in there. So if the thing that's currently in there equals a 0, then let's change this to nothing, right? Okay, so check to see if starts with 0 and delete the 0, right? Otherwise, concatenate the pressed button with what was there already. I'm bad at commenting, whatever. So, okay, that should do the trick, I think. Let's head back over here, run this guy one more time. So when we click 9, 0 disappears. We click 8, 5, 3. That seems to work. So if we wanted 81, boom, 81. That's the behavior you would expect. If we wanted 41, okay, that seems to work. Now, if we click X, it says star there, which may be what we want, maybe we don't. We'll talk about that probably in the next video. But if we just type like arrows, right, this is probably not the behavior we want. We'll get into all this later. In this video, I really just wanted to get the rough shape of our GUI set up, get our buttons up on the screen, have them, semi-functional, doing mostly what they're supposed to be doing, and looking pretty good. So that's all for this video. If you'd like to, be sure to smash the like button below, subscribe to the channel, give me a thumbs up for the YouTube algorithm, and check out Codemy.com, where you can use coupon code YouTube1 to get $30 off membership. So you pay just $49 to access all my courses, over 47 courses, hundreds of videos, and the PDFs of all my best-selling coding books. Join over 100,000 students learning to code just like you. My name is John Elder from Codemy.com, and I'll see you in the next video.